And all things being equal, we should be live. So, hi everybody. I'm going to show our faces, I hope. There we are. There
There
we
we go.
are. That one up there is Paul. This one down here is Patrick. And we are going to be talking about AMC, Universal, and the fight between the studios and the cinemas. So, buckle up.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting. The cinema wars now.
We had the streaming wars, now we have the cinema wars. Um, do you know what? I think, Paul, to kind of kick this off, I'm going to set the scene with something that we mentioned I think it was our first ever live stream, where we were talking about how
Mm.
cinemas would cope with COVID. And I think that was the day or the day after Trolls had gone live or gone out as a premium video on demand. Um, at that point, Universal released Trolls. People were in lockdown. They had I'm not going to say excuse, they had their statement of we're doing this because people are trapped at home and we're trying to help families. This is a family film. Everybody also knows that Trolls 2 World Tour was predicted to lose a load of money, so not a bad idea to make some money back while you can.
Yeah.
Also, a little test the waters for them. But the notable thing, and the reason we mentioned, is they didn't inform the national theatre operators, people, NATO, National North American Theatre Operators, not that NATO, the other NATO. Um, and they released a statement, or I think it may have been them or AMC released a statement where it was, we won't forget. We won't forget that you did this without consulting us, or realistically, without telling us, because they didn't have a problem with Universal doing it, but they weren't over the moon that they learned about it in the same press release that we did.
Yeah, pretty much. Like it seems bad form in the sense that when you've got a distribution deal with a theater chain and suddenly you're just releasing a press junket that just says, "Oh yeah, by the way, the film that we pretty much have negotiated with you to release, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. We're just going to release it on Premiere VOD, which is a bit much, to
Which
be
is
honest."
just a touch much, all right. Um, I don't know if anybody has joined the stream yet, but if anybody has, please hit a like. It's the likes apparently that get the streams shared out there by the Google Analytic or the YouTube Analytics. So if you're giving us a little watch, maybe give us a little like. If you end up not liking it, you can unlike at the end. We'll have used you up for all you're
Yeah.
worth by then.
Yeah, so it's an interesting story that's come out because it's when you sent it to me, it was currently just AMC Theaters, which are the owners of Odeon,
Yeah, they're the
and
biggest
they put
theater
out a
chain in the world. They're the big crowd.
yeah, like in Europe, it's mostly known as Odeon. They have some smaller versions of like Odeon, other places as well, and then in America, it's a combination of like Odeon and IMC, I believe, and a couple of other ones.
I think so.
Um, but which was yeah, so it was an interesting kind of jump where AMC were just like, yeah, so yeah, we're going to be a bit careful with. Well, a lot of them were saying that it was a full on carpet ban of which was Universal Studio movies, which includes franchises such as Fast and the Furious, Jurassic Park, James Bond. A lot. So there's a lot there kind of going on.
Yeah, and
But
weirdly around James Bond, I think that's one of the tricky ones because I think Universal only have the international distribution rights, and I think Sony have the North American distribution rights. So it's if they did try and pull this, putting it out on uh, premium, on demand, they wouldn't actually be able to. So even Universal are testing waters that they themselves are going to get tripped up in.
yeah, so it's an interesting kind of. It's so weird.
Yeah.
It's the best
Well,
way to explain it.
Well, let's and sorry if I missed you when you were saying this a moment ago, Paul. I was trying to fix something in the stream. Um, but have we covered that the reason we're talking about it right now is that statement from Universal saying in future when the cinemas come back, we're going to look at whether or not we're going to see if we can continue to launch in theaters and also as premium on demand. And what premium on demand is, just so everybody's clear, that's not sending it to Netflix or sending it to Hulu or Disney Plus. That is you still paying. You're at home and you're paying, let's say, $5.99 to get 48 hours of the video. Whatever. I think that was for Trolls. It was a 48-hour window, I think.
Yeah, it was a 48-hour window at 1999. So they made about 100 million on just Trolls alone.
Yeah, and
Um,
they're still taking a bath and losing money on that movie. Blast them.
yeah, but like it's the platforms they'll be using is Apple and YouTube and their own, like probably a platform of their own as well. So like it's an interesting kind of,
Hmm.
I guess, format. We were discussing this before. Like it seems like having joint in a way seems weirdly counter mandatory or counterintuitive,
Hmm.
since you are essentially shafting the theaters. And I don't know, I like, the majority of times I will go to the theater before I go to like online. I know I complain about people talking and stuff like that, but it's still part of the cinema theater,
But
like,
yeah,
experience.
and the reason both of us complain about other people in cinemas and some things about cinemas is because we love them. And it's because we both like going to them. We have a whole video, which we'll try and link for anybody who's not watching the live stream. There'll be a little card showing up above. Yeah, I'm actually going to switch our screen. So yeah, now you're pointing perfectly. Um, but it's let's maybe do this in a few ways. Let's talk about before we do the finances or the fans. Let's talk about the simple kind of the facts on this one, and that is that
Mhm.
Universal can, by all means, release stuff if they want, and AMC and all the other theater chains are well within their rights to show what they do and do not want. It's their businesses. But both of these need each other. So the fact is that this fight is going to go away very quickly. It's going to go away probably faster than any other entertainment industry fight ever. By the time this video gets, 100 views, the fight may well be over. And that's
Yeah,
because they need each other so much.
yeah, like it's kind of interesting to see, like, as it's such a symbiotic relationship, like, to see them fight like this, because it is like the majority of money made by studios is in the first 2 weeks of a film being released.
Yeah.
So like, okay, Trolls was a it was being released in March because March is a dumping ground essentially for like a lot of stuff. Like it's during that dumping period, like during the year when, like, most people are more interested in the Oscars, like Oscar films and stuff like that. So like we get it, and having it as a goodwill release is fine. But like they obviously didn't. It was a two prongs thing where they were just like, this isn't going to make a lot of money, so why don't we just release it on one of those, like our platforms, to see what the, like, test our feet in the
Yeah.
water.
I
And
think,
like
yeah, sorry, go on.
it's just really pissed off essentially they're one of their major distribution places, like branches, and it's just like, I know Universal are going to try to be like, we might just release movies in two, like, in theaters and like on our video demands, but theaters are obviously going to be like, no, you're literally removing money from us, and we were already spending a lot of money on you guys.
Well, in all fairness, the hardworking people in Universal, because this was a statement from the CEO, who probably shouldn't have made the statement so loosely, because obviously there was a bit of a rollback from the Universal PR department, but then there was also a little bit of a doubling down later. So I think when people got fighty, a little bit of fighting started happening. Truth of the matter is, the money that you're going to make if you're Universal, you cannot afford to do it without cinemas right now. Because, again, facts. If you go and you release your film, let's say you release the next James Bond film or the next Fast and the Furious film, and you're going to make $20 on your premium VOD. So you're getting your on demand home release, and people have to pay $20. That's a lot of people getting it for $20. That's a whole household. So all of a sudden you're splitting your tickets right there. They're also getting it for 48 hours, which in the case of Trolls in particular, I'm surprised they went for it in one way. Well, I know why they did it with Trolls. They just had to try and make some money back. But when you consider a kids film, that could be watched 5, 6, 7 times in 48 hours, maybe more, and the kids are sick of it. Whereas if you bring the same kids to the cinema to see it, then they wait and it comes out on video on demand, and they're like, I really love that, I want to see it again. Then you make, you get it as a $5.99 release. Then it comes up on your streaming platform, be it your Netflix or whatever. You get another view there. You get people buying digital copies if their kids want to watch it over and over and over again. In the history of time, there have always been people that say they will wait for it on video. You know, when video started, there were people going, I'm not going to the cinema. I'm gonna wait for this to come out in video, or I'll wait for it to be on TV. There will always be people who push it down the line. I don't know if it's a good idea for studios to start jumping further down that line, because it's just going to move people further and further along that value chain.
Yeah, like it's an interesting kind of makes yeah. It's I don't know. It doesn't make sense for not for because you are pushing them, and from the optics of this, like it seems like the studio is winning, like because it's essentially going, let's make releases easier for everybody by releasing them on any platform that you guys want. Whereas the cinema's losing this battle because it's essentially like, yeah, we want to charge you for the tickets and the ridiculous like food and stuff like that. But it's a gross misunderstanding of how cinemas work as well. That seems like has gone against theaters.
Yeah,
You
I'd
know,
agree with that.
like the no one like it's not well known that the first 2 weeks of a release of a film, like it's 0 to 25% of the ticket prices go to the theater, and like it has to be a very certain film for you
Yeah.
to be getting 25%.
Oh, and
You
and
know,
and that math changes in jurisdiction, from jurisdiction to jurisdiction too. But no matter what you're talking about, is across the world. Never minding, studios eating up all this advertising budget as part of their release costs. They're not making 100%, but neither are the cinemas. The cinemas have to have films there for the bad nights as well as the good nights, so they don't live just off the blockbuster big one night. I think you're right that people completely misunderstand when they go and they see how much ice cream or popcorn is in a cinema, and they're like, "Oh, this is just terrible. They're ripping us off." Consider how large the building is. Consider that that's a single use building most of the time. You have a lot of money to spend to keep it going the way it is, and you're not packing people in from Monday to Wednesday all week long. That's why there are so many discounts. So to give the premium experience that cinemas have been doing, and they have, like, across the world, cinemas have been upscaling a lot over the years, particularly AMC. They've invested heavily in buying other chains and their North American theaters, upgrading all sorts of stuff. That's why they're heading towards Chapter 11 bankruptcy right now, unfortunately. Coronavirus hasn't helped them, came at a bad time, just as they were about to
no,
recoup their expenses.
yeah, it hit them pretty hard.
Yeah,
But
but
like, yeah, as you're saying, like like cinemas are starting to upgrade. Like you got 4D, iSense, IMAX. These extra things that do cost a little extra and stuff like that. But once again, if like you've got the building, as you said, you've got staff, cleaning, utilities, but then you've got the actual negotiation of distribution for movies that costs some money as well.
yep,
Like the conversation and buying the rights to be able to be like, because at AMC, although it was one of the biggest, like obviously like fights for one the premiere, like because I say that a large amount of the premieres for certain films are probably in AMC, and certain other ones are probably in Regal, which is the Cineworld one,
yeah,
and stuff like that. But that costs money. Like it's not just that they go to a theater, they go to a studio and be like, "Hey, we want to show your movie," and the studio goes, "That's cool." For the first 2 weeks, you're gonna get like shafted. For the second 2 weeks, you'll get a little bit more, and then like the last weeks, you'll get like 75%. Is that cool? It's just like no. They're like, yeah, that's cool. You can show our movie. Give us 120 million to be able to show the movies in your cinemas. And also, by the way, the first 2 weeks we get all the money.
yeah. And people are starting to catch on that when a movie, a $1 billion movie, let's just take a $1 billion movie, that makes the news. This film has made $1 billion, and everybody goes, "Wow!" Marvel or Disney, as they are now, just made $1 billion. No, they didn't, because they probably had 300 million in advertising on a $1 billion movie quite often, and all associated costs and production costs. So they have to make an awful lot of money to make it back. So okay, you got 700 million. Wow, that's a lot of money. So, well, no, then you've got the other costs, etc., etc. But you have to go a little way down the line before you go, oh, well, the cinemas must have made a 500,000 or 500,000,000 from that. It's like, no, think about it. The studios are taking at least 60%, if you average it out over the different jurisdictions and how it works globally. So cinemas, when they're charging you for the hot dog or the nachos or the popcorn or whatever it is, that's the only place where they can make the money by themselves. It's where somebody isn't taking a huge percentage of it.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, I do think that there's value and then there's lack of value, but it's value is more about the service and the experience you get than the price you're charged for something. That's It's a hard argument though, because I know a lot of people because of this are saying, well, to hell with cinemas. I would much prefer to be able to pick and choose what I'll watch on TV, and if I want to see the next Fast and Furious for $20 opening night, then I'm going to do that. To which I will say to that person, well, if you know that it's going to be on Netflix in 2 months' time, are you just not going to spend the $20 and wait? Because you're at home anyway. There's nothing changing for you. Your couch is your couch. Your ass is going to remain the same shape, give or take. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't add up for me.
Like as you said, it moves the value stream down the road. So but because that's also an interesting point, because if you do have the people essentially the couch surfer people kind of like waiting until like it hits Netflix, it means that down values the movie as well.
Yep.
So it means Netflix actually makes the money. It means Netflix will just say the streaming services will just win again because, like, your Fast and the Furious 9 will like everyone's just like, I could pay €20 to like see it first, or I can just wait for Netflix to get it like in a couple of months. Or I'm already paying for Netflix.
Yeah, or you have the other. Hey, we're all going to have to pay one way or the other. And what you end up with is everybody has to have their own streaming service, which we're already starting to see. Because nobody wants all of their stuff to go down all the way down the chain to Netflix, so that, example person A sitting on the couch goes, well, I'll wait for it on Netflix. It's like, haha, no. Now you have to have Amazon, Netflix, Disney, Hulu, whatever else, the next things that are coming. That's where the money can't go away. And if the money does go away, I guarantee you it's not just cinemas that are going to go away. It's going to be movies and entertainment at any sort of bigger budget. That's going to go, because nobody's doing this stuff for free. Do we have any comments in the comment section, Paul?
No, not yet. We have one from Brew which says, I seem to have missed Trolls 1. Don't worry, there's like 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, I can't imagine we're the target market for Trolls or target demographic. But you know what? Have you seen Trolls 1? Be honest, because I haven't.
No, I haven't ever watched any of the Trolls. Even if being an Anna Kendrick film, like she voices one of the Trolls, I still haven't seen it.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying anything, but I don't just think it's Anna Kendrick's voice that you like. So I'm not outing you on live internet here or anything. To be fair, though, I would love to know anybody out there in the comment section, if you were, and we put out a poll on this, and I actually haven't checked the poll because we were busy trying to get the stream to work. We put out a poll on this last night. Which would you rather? Would you rather spend to save the cinemas, or would you want to save and have things go straight to streaming? Now, bear in mind, you're still going to have to pay if it goes straight to streaming. Particularly for premieres.
Well, we got 11 votes.
Oh, that's very small. But to be fair, I did do it very late last night.
But out of the 11 votes, 55 said spend and save the cinemas.
Ooh,
And 45% say save and watch at home. Like we'll continue. Like there's still 5 hours left on the vote, so like it still could go up. So yeah, go vote as well if you're on the chat.
It's surprising to me that it's as close as it is, because I kind of thought that either I'd be in the majority or the minority. I didn't know if everybody. Obviously, cinema. There's a couple of temples in my life, and none of them are actual temples. They're either racetracks or cinemas. They're the places that I do my thing, and comedy clubs. But I thought everybody else would be, particularly considering how the world is right now, I thought maybe everybody else would go, oh, screw it, look, I want to save my money. Anything that brings the entertainment to my home cheaper, I'll go for that. So I'm kind of glad that it hasn't been a whitewash to the other view than mine. But still, it means there are people out there of both sides.
Well, like it's interesting because like a lot of cinema, a lot of filmmakers like build their movies for the cinematic kind of experience. So like it's interesting that there's studios like the business side of this is essentially going against that artistic and creative kind of view and being like, yeah, we're just going to distribute it onto people's computers where like or laptops and stuff like that. Like I get that the new kind of thing is like your computer and stuff like that is your cinema and stuff like that. But like as a creative and stuff like that, it would be like if I was a big names director and Universal would just like, yeah, going forward, even after the quarantine, we're looking at releasing them in both. I'd be just like, what? Like, are you sure? Like, because it seems like you're, as you said, splitting your audience and stuff like that. And like, I guess that like people who want to go to the cinema will still go to the cinema, but and then people who want to stay at home and wait for this to either be released on a streaming service or like to straight to video kind of thing. It's that gray area group that's the decider. And essentially, you're just making it easy to be lazy. And of course, because we're all human, we're going to be lazy. And it's just
Yeah.
there, that gray group. Like, I'm not, I'm not going to change. If I see a movie that I want to see in the cinema, I'm going to the cinema.
Yeah,
You know,
but that's us though.
yeah. See, that's the thing. So it's like this thing is like we're on one side of the fence, and then there's the groups who are on the other side of the fence. It's the people in the middle that are going to ruin this, like going to ruin it one side or the other. And as I said, the optics doesn't look good for cinemas right now because everyone thinks already that they're slightly overpriced, and
Yeah.
convenience is currently the wave in which everybody is going for.
Oh, convenience is a
So
premium, that's for sure. But I think, and this is where obviously we're putting our cards on the table. Everybody can see which side of this we come down on. But and that's to be expected. Like we're two people who are doing movie crap on the internet. Of course we're gonna like cinemas. But having said that, it's not just for us. I said it before when we were talking about the importance of cinema itself, as in the brick and mortar, the experience. They are communal areas. There are places where people can come together to experience art. And that's going to sound lofty to some people who don't want to consider movies art. But if you consider theatre art, then movies are still art too. If you go and see a performance of something, even if it's on celluloid, videotape, digital, whatever they're broadcasting in, you go and share that experience with other people. We need more of that in the world going forward. And I don't mean because of Corona, I mean just as a society, we've needed it for a very long time and will continue to need it for a long time. For people to go and share. Oh, my camera just died, Paul, so I'm switching to you.
I just noticed that.
There we go. Um, I'm going to
Let me.
continue.
Yeah, continue talking
Yeah, I'm
and
going to
I'll just.
continue talking while fixing. So excuse me. Yeah, no. I'm going to throw it to you though by saying, do you feel that people don't just underestimate how expensive it is to run a cinema or make that business work, but all of the value that cinema has for them, not just as a viewing experience, but as a societal experience and as part of the fabric of the culture that we're lucky enough to live in?
Yeah, like I do. I do think people undervalue that whole kind of like collaborative kind of like a sense. Like one of the biggest ones, and like I will never experience. I don't think I'm going to experience it for another while. Is A Quiet Place.
Yeah,
Like never experience. Like it's been like I've never experienced that level of like audience anticipation like together. Then like A Quiet Place where everyone's been quiet. Like you said to yourself, you were
yeah,
eating nachos like
yeah.
you were eating nachos like you were going to be taken out by the monster.
To this
You
day,
know,
one of my greatest regrets was ordering the nachos and not knowing what that film was about to be. It was a stressful experience.
but like you don't, and but it's not like if you were at home, there's no way that you would give a shit about like part of my language. You'd care about like you eating your nachos and like like whereas it's not only that you're in that space, it's the fact is that there are other people there and they can hear you every minute crunch,
Yeah,
like, and they're getting tense as well, and you're just like, this is great. Like if you were worst man like me, you'd definitely just be like,
Uh,
just, and then look around the place for like people to look at you, and you were just like, yeah, that's right, I'd bring the monster here.
well, I do want to say one thing to you. You are a monster if you do that. But no, they're like, hey, you raise a good point. Here's something that you don't get at home and that we talked about why cinemas are good. As angry as we are about people being on their phones and lighting up their fucking iWatches and just generally being bad cinema patrons, that's really hard to avoid at home. But it's actually hard to avoid for yourself. When you're in a cinema, if you're a normal, decent human being, you don't have your phone out or on. That's to everybody out there.
We're talking.
Or talking. But when you're at home, you won't feel the social guilt of not being fully engaged with the movie and going, I'm just going to look at my phone. I'm just going to look at my phone. So it's doing you a favor by restricting you in that way. I'm gonna throw to the comments though because I did notice a comment a moment ago. Um, I think being under lockdown could impact the poll. That's a good point. People want to go to the cinema and are used to being at home. Yeah, I kind of get that. I also see a hashtag free Patrick. Yeah, free me, thank you. But actually,
is that is that comment referring to not the free Patrick one? I definitely understand that one. Is the people want to go to the cinema and are used to being at home? Is that specifically towards the quarantine kind of thing, or is it just in general the sense that people are just used to being at home
yeah,
and kind of try to bring that experience inside their home?
I think yeah, and actually, and by all means, the commenter Brew, you can clarify for us, but I think it means that there are people on both sides. There are ones that are the cinema people like us go to the cinema. The ones that are used to waiting and watching movies at home, they do it at home. But one thing is
Mm-hmm.
actually, and to that commenter, because I know where I know that they did not get to go and see Quiet Place in the cinema because I talked to them about it. And I know that under quarantine they have watched A Quiet Place now. So considering our social experience example was The Quiet Place, I'd love to hear from you, Brew. Do you actually think now, thinking back after watching it at home, can you imagine what it would have been like sitting in a room full of people, trying not to make noise, trying to make sure that you don't drop so much as a feather-like piece of popcorn because it'll sound like a thud when it hits the ground? Um, oh, we
He clarified. Yeah, people miss the cinema and have adjusted to a new way of viewing. I definitely agree, but that doesn't mean, in my opinion, that studios should continue the trend, like into non-quarantined time. So, like, yeah, I get that we're going to be quarantined for quite a bit of time and stuff like that, and even after our kind of lockdown in Ireland and other places are released, like restrictions are still going to be there. Cinemas are not one of the majority of the places that are going to be released to the open, um, that kind of thing. But which was
well,
I don't think because Universal has said that they'll be releasing this in the two formats, and that seems like it was the thing that they wanted to do anyway, and that's because, as you said, as the studio or as the cinema releases or the cinema time of the movie goes on, the percentage in which the theater gets more and more is there. Whereas if you release it on some kind of platform and then streaming service as well, so on the premium VOD, you get like 80% up to 90%. If it's your own,
well, if
then
you're own, you're getting
it's
100%.
just
Yeah.
yeah, you get the 100% of the profits, and then as you distribute it to the streaming services, you then get the distribution rights as well, and you're getting all that money. You know, so like
Still a lot of money.
it's yeah, and it's kind of like it. It seems like Universal already wanted to do that, and they're just using the quarantine as an excuse to get around it and be just like, but they also want their cake and eat it because they also want the theater money as well.
Well, I am
You
going
know,
to, yeah, and I'm going to jump in and put on my prediction hat here. So I predict quite comfortably that Universal will be back in their box, so to speak. I predict that they're going to, because they've backpedaled a little bit, I don't think that quarantine's not going to last forever. So the window for making more money out of releasing something online as opposed to in cinema, that extra bump of having everybody captive at home, that's not going to be around forever. So making a big shift, it's dodgy business at best. But there's the other thing. We talked about AMC probably filing for Chapter 11 soon because they'd extended themselves into a few things, not out of craziness. It was bad timing for them because they were about to start recouping losses on investments. That's how business works. I don't see all the studios other than Universal actually not stepping in and wanting to help save. Whoa, that's why you turn off your phone when you're doing live streaming. Um, I don't see all the studios not stepping in to actually financially support in some way the cinemas because they're not going to want to necessarily own them. I don't see Disney buying AMC tomorrow, but I do see most studios wanting to keep cinemas going. So I think they're not only could Universal have gone the wrong direction, I think they're going to be the ones tailing everybody running in the other direction, running to save the cinemas. As in, all the studios will probably get together and get with the cinema owners and cinema corporations to make it better.
That's true. Like,
That's
that's a pretty
that's
good.
Patrick's crazy prediction. Um,
My prediction is that it's not going to go away. I like my prediction is that Universal has start is like is essentially spelling the end towards the theaters, which is a sad thing.
it would be very
Um,
sad.
but so like yeah, like I would like I can't wait to see what other studios do in the future. Like because currently Disney have decided that they're going to release Artemis Fowl on their service,
Yeah,
Disney Plus, and not release it to studios, even though that release was meant to be May, I believe.
yeah, they're
It
they're
was meant to be.
burying some losses too, though. I think they're taking good business with Corona now. Going, we may not have actually made our money back cinema wise. Particularly Artemis Fowl doesn't sound like it was going trending in the best direction as far as what the analysts were predicting. So it might be seen as an easy way to get out without the big marketing budget going further. But
Yeah,
yeah,
like
no, I
I
do.
do.
I take your point though.
Like as it if because it'll be interesting to see what they do with this with Black Widow
Yeah,
because
that's there. You go.
that's
There's your litmus test.
like Black Widow and Wonder Woman, like the blockbuster, the event movies that we've been talking about during the summer. Because like there's certain countries that are still not like. I know that they're even easing restrictions here in Europe, but like I still don't think cinemas are going to be one of the first places that they get released, like get opened up.
Yeah.
So like it'll be interesting to see in the coming months, like for the summer months, what is going to happen to the event movies. Are they going to stick them in their like in their back pocket, and just be like, we're going to wait until cinemas can be released, or are they going to go for their own streaming service or platforms, like kind of thing?
Well,
And
it'll
it's
be
you
interesting to
see,
see.
and this goes to Bruce's point, um, which is, well, what about the fact that movies may not be made for the next 6 months,
Yeah.
for 6 months? Like, it would make sense. So I feel that this is a two thing. It makes sense that their big event movies will be put into their back pockets and backpedals all the way. And every single film that they were just like, let's just put it into dump months, they may start appearing more and more, as well as films that they were just like studios were just like, we'll wait, like New Mutants,
The most cursed film
you
in the history
know,
of time. Yeah.
yeah, like New Mutants. It will essentially just be they'll be just like, yeah, release it now, kind of thing,
Yeah.
or like because like
Cut
no
their
one seems to have
losses.
kicked up the fuss, yeah, like but no one seems to have kicked up the fuss that Bloodshot was one of the first films that were meant to be out this year, and it was put onto like YouTube and Apple, which is Apple movies and stuff like that for
It's
renting
because
immediately.
technically it got, even though it broke the theater window, because it got released in theaters, and yet it did break that theatrical release window where you're not supposed to go from theater to any other platform or distribution method. Um, Quarantine happened and all cinemas were closed down, and also I don't think cinemas were planning on making a huge amount of money out of it anyway after its opening weekend.
Yeah, but
But
once again, no one was planning to do it with Trolls either.
no, that's true. That is true. You know what? It's not necessarily what you do sometimes. It's the attitude you do it with. And the big slip up with Trolls was not releasing it. It was releasing it and letting the theater chains find out like an hour beforehand, before the rest of the world knew.
Yeah,
Yeah, you just got to you got to keep your class, or else you're in
No,
trouble.
yeah, I do get you, but with the 6 month thing, yeah, like I think a lot of films are going to be put into the back pocket.
Yeah, well, actually,
Like,
just on that, because I want to go back to one other of Brew's comments before we get too far away, and then I think maybe we'll close out talking about, because his 6 months, what's going to happen that movies aren't being made is probably a whole video in and of itself, but we should talk about it before we go. He has clarified regarding The Quiet Place, though, and he thinks
oh yeah,
it was fantastic, and he does regret not seeing it in the cinema. So there you go. There's a vote for the communal experience. Now there is something I will say. I'm looking forward to watching A Quiet Place with a few people in a house when when COVID's all gone, because I'm going to be interested. There are some films that really work really well in cinemas, and then they work just as well again at home with other people. So I think we'll be doing a little watch party of that. All trying to stay quiet, and the one that farts gets thrown out of the room.
yeah, yeah. It's like she get thrown out of the room anyway.
Yeah.
But which was, yeah, to that 6 month thing. That's an interesting conversation because we have touched on it a couple of times. Not even just this film, we have touched on it in a couple of things before, and
Yeah.
it's like it's going to be interesting because we won't feel that knock on until way later.
Well, one thing I will say is because we're not just covering movies, we cover all ends of entertainment that we can. Movies will be a lot less affected by that 6 month hiatus. If the fact that productions are shut down for 6 months, let's say that's 300 movies. That's a lot of stuff across the world. 300, sizable budget movies. Let's just throw a random number at it. TV shows are going to fare an awful lot worse, because their production schedules are in a completely different league, particularly as to how much they have to produce and the content they have to get out and the cadence they have to do it at. So I think we may well do a whole episode on how it'll affect movies and TV. My take on where it'll end up with movies, Paul, and this is one I kind of want to bounce off you. I think we're going to see, like we talked about when we mentioned it before, I think we're going to see some budgets going into animated movies that have probably already switched to get things moved up so that they have things on the slate in case they can't get other films created. I actually think you're going to find studios greenlighting, depending on the territories in the world, greenlighting smaller budget movies and giving them slightly larger budgets than they would have, just to make sure they have stuff in their back pocket for early 2021, maybe even summer 2021. I think there'll be people looking for their Blair Witch projects and their Cloverfields, things that they can do a lot with digitally and shoot at a minimum kind of cost outside.
Yeah, like it'll be an interesting kind of cinema experience, or not cinema experience, but an interesting movie experience, in the sense that there will be ways around the COVID-19 kind of like quarantine, and how production teams and stuff like that work together.
Yeah.
So you would probably find maybe a resurgence of the handycam way with, and as you said, the animated thing. But as I said, that 6 month hiatus, like TV will feel it sooner. Movies, we won't feel that until like probably like early 2021 to mid 2021.
Spring 2021 is when I think, if things keep locked down, that we'll really see that kick in.
Yeah, because like TVs, you'll see that sooner, because that 6 months, that's like an entire season not being able to be filmed. So like, so that kind of thing. Whereas like 6 months is like only probably like a third of a filming schedule, possibly.
Yeah.
And
remember, movies can still go directly to Netflix too, but TV shows cannot go directly to cinema. So while cinemas are closed and productions are shut down, there's a little bit of a trade-off there. We can't make our movie, but we've got a little bit of time because cinemas aren't open. So, that time shifts together. TV shows, TV is the hot ticket right now. We're living in the golden age of TV and all that good stuff. But whoa, has TV got an extra shot in the arm thanks to worldwide events. Nothing quite like being trapped inside with the internet and TV, for the internet and TV to have their moment to shine.
Yeah,
It will.
but like
You go. Sorry.
I'm like even going back to like old shows though. Like I'm rewatching The West Wing,
Oh,
you
it's so
know,
worth it. Do it.
like and
Do
it's
it.
and it's like it's just because I know that I can get certain TV shows like because I do have a lot of the streaming services. I also have purchased a VPN so that I could possibly get HBO Max. Uh, well, once they release here, I'll be
Yeah.
happy to go back to that.
Yeah.
But like because that's going to give us The Wire as well, and it's going to give us a couple of other things. Like it's I find myself going back to old shows to keep the newer shows like fresh still,
Yeah.
because I know that like Westworld's season 3 is currently out, and I'm just like I don't want to watch it now and then have to wait like the 6 month thing really fucking over when season 4 comes out.
You're like
So
saving
like
chocolate at Easter or something now. You're like, I want to make sure that I have some left over. It makes sense to me. I'm kind of doing the same thing. Can I ask you? And I'm gonna ask you and the audience a question at the same time, because I think we're heading towards wrapping up in the next 5 minutes. So I'm going to ask you, Paul, and anybody who's commenting out there, if they want to throw in their answer to this, we'll see it and get it before the end. Um, Thinking about quarantine, COVID, lockdown, whatever you want to put it, my favorite movie of all time would not be affected by this, simply because you can make 12 Angry Men by getting 12 actors and a hand that comes through a door. The bailiff's arm is seen, once, I
and
think.
the kids,
Oh yeah,
he needs
yeah.
the kids because the
The,
kids are at it to start.
that's right, and the walking out in the steps at the end. But look, CGI is an amazing thing. So you can make my favorite film of all time with a very, very small crew and a lot of skill and talent. So I'm very, very happy that I don't think cinema needs huge budgets or blockbusters to be good movie, to be great. I'm glad they exist too, and they're a huge part of the landscape for me. I don't dine on cake or bread alone. I like the whole lot. But what's a throw one of your favorite films that comes into the top of your head and think, would it be affected if it was in production right now?
Ooh, well,
Would
Event Horizon probably would be.
well, Event Horizon's relatively small cast could now be done with
Yeah, but the
CG.
sets,
Yeah, no, yeah, you wouldn't get the same quality. That's true.
like,
Yeah,
see, my question to you, the
yeah,
countermanding question to you is, we're getting Black Widow soon, and that'll
yes,
be an interesting to see where it's being placed and stuff like that. We're also
yes,
getting two of the Marvel TV shows, WandaVision and Winter Soldier and
yeah.
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Captain and Captain.
Do you think like what is it? The fifth phase of Marvel is going to benefit or be hindered by the fact that they're going to have to wait a while to be able to start filming?
Benefit. And you know why I say it? I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't. Because we made a video, and I was about to almost answer the other way, going, I don't know. But I'm going to have to actually say benefit because I think we did suggest that they should take a break. And now that break may well have been forced a little bit. And it might be just what the doctor ordered to give people that little bit of time and take a breath after Endgame and after, finally, Tony is gone. Stark is gone, everybody. No spoiler needed. The world now knows that. Um, I think it could actually work out well for them. I really do. Because I don't know if they would have oversaturated themselves just by keeping going at the same pace. Although, hey, in 2021 and 2022, we could have like 5 Marvel movies a year for those 2 years. That's probably a bad idea too.
Well, I think I'm similar to you. I think that the break is probably will do them a world of good,
Yeah.
because like we are just at the end of like our fourth phase, and like that's 20 22 20 like I like 20 something films, 27, 28
Yeah,
films.
20. Yeah, it's 24
I'm
films
going
or
to say
whatever.
20 to 28. I'm going to
Yes,
say
yeah, yeah,
20 to 28
yeah, exactly. I'm not doing the
films that
math.
we got in a short period of time. So it is, I think it will benefit from the break because like we're gonna get Black Widow, which is gonna keep us happy. We're gonna get the Marvel TV shows. It's gonna keep us happy, and then Phase 5 is gonna start, and we're gonna be into a whole new team of people and stuff like that, and some faces that we recognize.
Yeah.
And I have seen rumors of Robert Downey Jr. being in conversations with Marvel Studios about coming back.
Let's hope it's
But
flashback only.
in what capacity
Yeah.
is the bigger thing. So
I'm fine with
I
the
do think it's good.
flashback stuff. Let's just, maybe don't resurrect until you have to recast everybody. But that's a whole other day's stream. So I'd like to say thanks to the lovely commentariat. Also, we got a call back in there saying for Brew, the Blair Witch Project could be made. So I guess that's one of his picks for one of his favorites. And yeah, that exactly makes my point, that there's somebody somewhere right now in Croatia or somewhere in a forest, in a wood, with a lot of creativity, a lot of talent, and a lot of art, probably making a fantastic movie in the woods somehow. And that's just awesome to me. I'm looking forward to seeing those films see more of the light of day because of all this. Trying to find the silver lining, as always. But I think on that note, Paul, let's throw it out to people. Can we please, anybody who's watching this at any point, send us some topics that you'd like us to cover? If it's around the business of movies, if it's around what we think of a specific topic or a specific movie even. I'm fine with pulling a film apart, because there's a few I'd really like to that I've seen recently.
Here's an interesting thing that we should do. I paused a film and commented for like 15 minutes on just that one frame that I saw. It was in Black Panther as well. It was like there was a lot of people in that did not look like they were impressed about being in that frame.
You didn't comment online about this, did you? It was just an in the room thing where you were like,
yeah, it's just me and my girlfriend. But like, it's a fun thing to do. It's just to randomly pause a film, take this frame, and then just comment on it. Because there's several people in the background who do not look like they've been informed that they were in that shot.
Fantastic. We now have another video idea. Everybody, watch out for I don't know what we'll title that one. You've been framed. Oh God, that's cheesy. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. I'm glad you were drinking just.
Who are you from the 90s, Patrick? From the 90s? Are you going to give me my £200?
I wish I was from the 90s. You've Been Framed I was actually quite old by the time that was still on. I'm going to thank everybody for their participation. I hope you enjoyed. Paul, I've had a great time talking to you as always. And on that note, I have been Patrick.
And I have been Paul.
And we have been Hear Us Out, and I don't know which one of us is supposed to say that. So let's just say bye together.
Bye.
Bye. See you all soon.
It's like that meeting thing where everyone's no.
Well, everybody's still watching because I'm trying to find the end stream button. So one more bye. Bye.
I'll just keep